On this episode, how to make a liter of water worth infinitesimally more than a diamond. Oh, I do! This real estate stuff is not easy, so send me your questions and I will answer them. This is the Ask Jason Show. Hello everybody, my name is Jason Piercey and this is episode 121 of the Ask Jason Show. Today, I want to talk about something that is potentially troublesome or worrisome or, is it really though? It could be. Anyway, here's the thing. How do realtors get paid? Where does the money come from? Does that artificially inflate the price of every house in our market? Are they all being forced to be sold for more than they should because our fees are built into them? And is that a problem? Okay, so here we go, I guess. When a house is bought and sold, a buyer buys, a seller sells. Through negotiation, a price is determined. The seller has a contract to compensate their realtor for procuring a sale worth, however they pay them. If it's a flat fee, if it's a fixed price, which is kind of the same as a flat fee, or if it's a percentage of the proceeds of sale, or in some provinces they do it completely different and it's like tiered. Like you get 7% of the first 100,000 and 4% of every 100,000 after that or something like that. There's different places that have different rules. Personally, I will charge a percentage plus HST. So depending on what's necessary to do the deal, probably 5%. Probably. Not always. I've sold places for flat fees and I've sold places for upwards of 10% because of how the deal had to go together. But anyway, let's just say it's 5% plus HST. But for the calculation, we'll remove the HST just because it's a pain to have to do 15% of things. So a house is bought and sold at $300,000 and I represent the seller. I charge them 5%. So that's $15,000. Now, all of that doesn't go to me. We don't have to talk about how all that gets chopped up and how I have fees to my brokerage and I had to pay taxes and we can ignore all of that for now. The buyer's agent is going to get compensated by invoicing me for their services. And I will have let them know ahead of time how much they will be paid for bringing a buyer and negotiating and helping to close the transaction. Because our job isn't done when paperwork is signed. There's a lot more to it than finding you a house and writing stuff down and, doing a deal like that. So of that 5%, I will typically pay half of it to the agent that brings a buyer. That's how they get paid. So now that $300,000 that the purchaser spent, less than $285 of it actually goes towards proceeds of the sale to the seller because they had an invoice from myself to their lawyer, or not myself, but my real estate company, eXp Realty, to their lawyer for 5% plus HST. But again, we're ignoring the HST. Unless they have other things to disperse payments to, like a balance on the mortgage or some other debt they have to pay off or whatever the case is. Maybe it's a judgment against them. Or maybe it's a forced sale because it's a really messy divorce and they gotta write checks to each other and they fight over who gets the air miles and stuff like that. Whereas my separation's been pretty peaceful and we still get along really well. It's all about the children. Won't someone think of the children? Who's that? Reverend Lovejoy's wife? Is that who it is? Yeah, from The Simpsons?
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
I forget her name. Helen? Helen. How do you know these things? Anyway, so we have a sale of $300,000, but only $285 or less of that goes to the actual person who sold the house. So does that mean that the house was really only worth $285, but the buyer overpaid because the realtors had to get paid? Does that mean that every house is overpriced by 5-ish%? Let's say from 3 to 7% maybe? Is every house overpriced because of that? No, that's not what it means. The only thing that affects the price of anything, especially houses, is supply and demand. If there are a lot of them and nobody wants them, or not enough people want them, the price goes down. Very, very simple. If there aren't very many and a lot of people want them, the price goes up. Like for instance, I heard this example on a podcast the other day. It's like the relative value of something. Like if you go by weight, water and diamonds are drastically different in price. Drastically different. right? Diamonds are worth way, way, way more. However, water is essential for life. So in theory, it should be worth way more than a diamond. So if I have like a liter of water and I have just a carat diamond, what these are worth to you depends entirely on supply and demand. Your demand for it doesn't really change, right? You always want water. But for most of us, at least here, if you're watching this, for most of us, access to water is fortunately not a thing that we have to quabble and worry about, and like it's not that we're not going to war over clean drinking water. Thankfully, and hopefully that never changes, because there are people in the world for whom that's an issue. Matt Damon does a lot of work with clean water foundations. In fact, during the Ice Bucket Challenge, he used toilet water. Just because he was demonstrating, he was like, I don't agree with this, but I want to help and raise funds. So he made it like sort of a push to his, I can't remember the name of it. I can't remember the name. Anyway, just look up Matt Damon Water Foundation. So if this was the last liter of water on Earth, the last clean liter of water on Earth, and a carat diamond, which one do you think is gonna fetch like a better selling price? Like it's not even, because now this is infinitely value. You can't even put a value on that. The last liter of clean drinking water on Earth, it's worth the entire existence of reality. Like it's worth so much, it's immeasurable. And that, like, right? Okay, so a property changes in value based on how many people want it and how much competition it has. So hiring a professional to well market your property can increase its demand. And the supply is kind of fixed if you have a particular thing, because it's the only house like it. And if through really good marketing and having Joe do videos and pretty pictures and crap, I can make it stand out above the crowd and be more appealing to an audience, then I have increased the demand for your house. And if I increase the demand for your house and the supply hasn't changed, then by the very definition of price being exclusively a function of supply and demand, your house just became more valuable because of the work that I did. If you didn't hire a professional and you had an appraiser come in and do the same kind of market evaluation that they would do on every individual house, and you put yours up for sale for $300 and a realtor put another one up for sale for $300, and they are in a vacuum, otherwise identical houses, the one that has good marketing will bring more attention. And because it brings more attention, it increases the demand. Now, it doesn't affect the supply. The supply is a constant, remember? Unless, you get more competition or less competition, but that's not what we're talking about. So by bringing extra demand, that changes that graph like that. I mean, the limit doesn't exist. Right? Mean Girls?
The limit does not exist.
Man, what a fall from Grace Lindsay Lohan had there, huh? Whoo, boy. So yeah, I think you're seeing what I'm saying here. While that realtor does a really good job marketing and bringing extra attention to the place, the people who are doing an off-market sale or a private sale, or they're not utilizing a professional, they're not investing into a professional to increase the amount of equity that they can get out of their house in like a sale transaction, they're not going to have as many eyes on something. And when nobody knows something is for sale, it becomes worth less money. Not because there's any change in the property itself, because the property stays the same. The supply is a constant, but price is a function of supply and demand, and that's it. If nobody wants it, it's not worth anything. Like my liter of water right now is worth way less than the diamond. But if it's the only liter of water, the entire existence of everything that you could possibly perceive, even the deepest parts of your dreams, your brain is infinite. You can look back into your head and go onward for forever. That's what your own creativity is. All of it hinges on that 1 liter of water. So, are all houses overpriced by 3 to 7%? No. And I kind of lost why I'm doing this. But I think you get the point. This might be the best ever episode of Ask Jason, and it might also be the worst, by far. We'll just have to wait and see what Joe does with the editing. That's all that I have to say for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. The Ask Jason Show exists so that you can get good real estate related information from a resource that you can trust. Now, speaking of resources you can trust, here's a couple I would trust to work with my mom. Because good enough for mom, I mean, good enough for you. Is it Horatio? Who holds the skull? Shakespeare. Is it Horatio? Can't remember. I am an actor. No, I don't know. He's got a skull in his hand? No? I don't know. Anyway, you know.